SightStone.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Summoners Report by SightStone, a video series where we discuss possible upcoming changes to the League of Legends, as well as what's going on over on the public beta environment. My name is Nearview, and as always, I'm joined by Jester Days, and I want everyone to keep in mind that everything mentioned in this video is still being discussed by Riot or currently on the public beta environment, and as always is subject to change. Okay, so let's get this episode going. So Jester, let's hit a little bit on the upcoming champion changes. Is there anything exciting going on with this?
There is something exciting, especially for me as an old school player. I really miss Ashe being a good AD carry, and she's getting a change that'll hopefully push her in the right direction. Focus, which is the passive for Ashe, now no longer gives critical strike chance. Instead, what it does is once you reach 100 stacks, your next auto is a guaranteed crit, similar to Caitlyn's passive. It now stacks a little bit differently. It still goes up every second like it did before. However, whenever you auto, it will not reset the stacks. It'll just pause the counting for a few seconds. Now, once you reach 100 and land that critical hit, it'll begin counting again, and it'll start counting from whatever number your crit chance is. Say you have 30% crit, your passive will now start at 30, but like I said, it doesn't actually affect your crit chance until you hit 100 focus. The ridiculously squishy Sona won't have the lowest base HP anymore. It's getting increased by a flat 40, and her base armor is getting increased by 2. Yup, a whole 2 points. Her W's persistent defense aura will be stronger early game, but the active defense boost will be weaker across all levels. Lissandra is getting a base damage nerf on her R and W.
So in the last video, we mentioned that Xerath might be getting some changes. Can you tell us where we currently stand with that?
Xerath is still far, far from complete, but I'll talk a little bit about some of the ideas that have been mentioned. It looks like his Q will essentially be the same line skill shot nuke that it was before. However, you can charge it up for bonus range. Let's skip to his E. They're not entirely sure what they want it to be, but whatever it ends up being, it will still set up for his stun. Moving on to his W and R, Riot likes the idea of Xerath's range whenever he sieges. However, they think having it on his W just wasn't what they wanted. So instead, they're discussing making the siege part of his ult and turning his W into just another damage spell. They aren't sure yet what they want to turn his ult into. All that's been determined is that his siege will be a part of it, as well as another effect. They've tossed around some ideas, and I'll give you a few examples, even though these have been scrapped. The first picture that was thrown out here definitely won't be used, but it's still interesting. Basically, what's happening here, there are 4 beams that the player could control, kind of like 4 Victor lasers, but that's pretty overwhelming, hence the reason why they scrapped the idea. The second picture is just another idea that they've thrown out there. It hasn't been confirmed or denied. This picture shows something along the lines of lobbing energy grenades at your opponent, and the third picture is just another screenshot of those energy grenades.
Okay, now that we've touched a little on what's going on with the champions, let's talk about itemization. What can you tell us about any changes happening there?
There are a handful of item changes coming up. Let's touch on a few of the more interesting ones. Wits End is getting a small but nice change. It will now steal 5 magic resist from the target instead of granting 5 magic resist to the user. It still stacks up to 5 times, so you can steal 25 magic resist. Maybe the boots and pot song can apply to you now. Basic boots will only cost 325 instead of 350, giving the players a couple more options for the boot starts. You can start boots in 4 pots or boots in 1 ward and 2 pots. Malady has been removed. It is completely gone without a trace from the PBE servers. Jungling items is where it's really getting interesting here. They're changing the damage to be less random and more reliable, so you always know what you're going to be dealing, and you can plan accordingly. Madrids and Wriggles will no longer have that 25% chance to deal bonus 300 and 500 magic damage respectively, and will instead deal less damage, but always deal that damage every auto attack. All the jungle items that dealt true damage will now deal bonus magic damage, and all the Spirit Stone recipes will deal 30% increased damage to monsters, up from 25%.
There have been some changes happening in the jungle. What exactly is going on there?
Now what'll happen is all the small camps will spawn at 155 instead of 140. However, their respawn timers will be 50 seconds instead of 1 minute. The base experience of blue and red camps will be increased by 55 to make up for that XP that the junglers won't be getting on their first camp anymore.
Can you tell us the reason for these changes and what they mean for the player?
These changes were most likely put into place because that blue side bot lane was always having the double golem advantage, which could sometimes be the deciding factor in who won that lane. These changes will mean they can't do that anymore, but the other lanes can't get any level 1 jungle experience either.
So, how are these changes going to affect the junglers?
These changes, mostly being against the laners, will actually benefit the junglers quite nicely as long as nobody steals any XP on that first buff camp. Junglers should still hit level 2, and since the small camps have a shorter respawn time, they can be farmed quicker and more often. The only downside I can see to this is the laners will be less inclined to stick around for a good leash since they won't be able to share on that small camp experience. They can't afford to miss as much lane time as they could before. Overall, the junglers will like this change.
So, Riot's mentioned that Magma Chamber will be used during the All Star competition, but only as a 1v1 and a 2v2 map. Can you tell us a little about this?
The magma chambers that'll be shown during the All Stars will have one lane and one turret for each side, and three ways to win during this showcase, which it could change once it's actually released. You can win. They will be able to win one either by killing 100 minions, or two destroying the enemy's turret, or three score first blood, or two team kills if it's a 2v2. You can check out Riot's official post and link in the description below.
All right, so let's move on to the public beta environment. What kind of stuff can we find over there right now that isn't currently on the live servers?
There's not too much going on the beta right now, but you can go over there and check out the Woad King Darius. He's available for play, as well as the new Morgana skin that we mentioned last episode. And there's some new loading screen tips that'll be coming soon, so that's kind of fun.
All right, so that just about covers it for this episode of the Summoner's Report. Is there anything that we missed you'd like to add, Jester?
There are a couple things worth mentioning. If you're an avid skin buyer, or maybe you just like Riot points because they're nice and shiny, Riot will be rewarding icons based on the amount of total RP you've purchased throughout your time in League of Legends. Uh, Last thing to mention here is there will be a new Ultimate skin coming soon, hopefully in June, so keep your eye out. We'll be sure to keep you guys up to date on that. And as always, we'd like to thank Riot for keeping the community informed on their plans, and Surrender at 20, as well as reignofgaming.net for source material. Links in the description below.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Summoner's Report. As always, if there's something that we missed that you guys would like to see us discuss, please leave us a comment below. Also, please remember that if you like the video, to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button.
SightStone.